Name Michael Brown ring a bell to anybody? Michael Brown. Remember Hands Up, Don't Shoot under the Obama administration? Because that's what we're witnessing right now with this Renee Good story. Michael Brown, he assaulted a cop through the driver's side window of the vehicle. He tried to take the cop's gun after assaulting the cop, and the cop shot him in self-defense. And the left's anthem was Hands Up, Don't Shoot. And it turned out that that was a lie, a complete fabrication. And when the truth came out about what actually happened on that day, it did nothing to persuade the left to abandon their lie, to admit that they had been wrong. Let me say this too. I think that pretty much universally now in the United States of America, we realize the Iraq War was a complete and total disaster, and it was a mistake. And what was the premise, the predicate under which George W. Bush and the United States invaded Iraq? It was weapons of mass destruction, right? WMDs. There's stockpiles of WMDs, and Saddam Hussein is imminently going to unleash them on the United States of America, and there we went into Iraq. The only problem was what? A year or so after the invasion, if not less, there were no WMDs. The U.S. government was forced to acknowledge that they were wrong. They didn't exist. There are absolutely disastrous consequences for waging wars under false predicates. And that is what the left is doing right now. Their entire war against the Trump administration, against ICE, against Charlie Kirk, it's all based on an underlying series of lies. Renee Good, we have plenty, ample of evidence now. It is indisputable what happened. And yet, a leftist can even watch the video of what happened. They can be confronted with all of the facts and still refuse to acknowledge the truth. Because at the end of the day, they don't care about the truth. The truth in every circumstance imaginable, as it relates to every belief system that the left embraces. Well, they're all untrue. They're founded on lies and falsehoods. And so for them, the evidence doesn't change their mind. Renee Good was in the wrong. It's tragic that she died, but she was in the wrong. She and her wife put themselves and her in that circumstance, and they brought it upon themselves. And yet this does nothing to change the narrative of leftists who are still out there using this incident to try and create social upheaval and unrest in the United States of America. And it's a intifada being run mainly by a bunch of Karens. And I'll play a clip in just a minute that shows you that. And you've got the left, Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis there, who is continuing to escalate. I want you to listen to what he had to say here on this podcast.
You're basically asking, can our cops arrest them?
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, yes. From a practical perspective, to state the reality, yeah, it does get kind of hard when they drastically outnumber us and they have bigger guns than we do. It does. And here's the thing. We don't want to create warfare in the street. We want to keep our communities safe. We're trying our very best to do that. So nobody, our police officers, ICE agents, civilians, nobody can act illegally. Nobody can. And so we're trying to find the best way to prevent these ICE agents from acting illegally while not causing a fire.
So this dummy, for lack of a better word, is operating under the pretense, of course, that the protesters who are violating the law, blocking traffic, blocking streets, Renee Good was sitting in her car, dancing as she honked her horn to incite a problem, to capture it on video, because she is an infatada, was an infatada Karen herself. She was blocking traffic. And I just want to play this video for you all because it's available for everyone to see. And it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that that car was headed towards the cop to run him over. Watch this video.
Change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
There you have it. Indisputable body cam footage that the car, in fact, did hit the officer, that it was headed straight towards him when he fired the shot. And yet, no amount of evidence that you can present the left with is going to change their mind, because the objective, they are exploiting a tragedy of their own creation to incite violence across this country. And these ICE operations, they are about one thing and one thing only. The ICE protests, are about one thing and one thing only. The ICE operation is about getting criminals out of this country. But the ICE protesters, they're there, and the Democrats are supporting these protests because they don't want any illegals to be deported from this country. And every once in a while, you have the Democrats, and it's becoming more and more common for them not to try and hide their motivations, but to admit them loud and clear for all to listen to. It's becoming more frequent, and I've got an example of that here. I want you to listen to this incredible clip of first this Senator Mark Warren being confronted with this, which I'll play for you. By the way, for Democrats out there who are out there thinking they are doing the Lord's work by trying to stop ICE, treating ICE agents and deportations of criminal illegals who have no right to be here, who have violated our laws by being here. We have every right to deport them. And as a matter of fact, until recently, every Democrat supported it and spoke that way. Listen to Democrats talk about deportations in the past.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
So this is a very damning clip to play for leftists today, because it exposes them and demonstrates that they are not ruled by any set of principles whatsoever. For them, it's all about power. So we know, as a matter of fact, that it is unlawful for illegals to be here. We know that it is lawful for this country, a sovereign nation, to deport these illegals who are in this country. You just heard two Democrats, before I cut the clip short, Bill Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama, both saying these very things. And yet the Democrat Party today, at present, and the left, where are they on the issue? They have completely changed their tune because suddenly these illegals are needed to protect the Democrat Party's political power. And therefore, suddenly, the left is abandoning any semblance of principle and adopting a new position that is contradictory to the rule of law and the position they held just a few short years ago. That is who the left is, and that's why they're so dangerous. Moral relativism. They will justify anything. They will change any position if it means securing political power and victory for themselves. So now listen to Senator Mark Warner admit it.
Now, I know Trump has deported or sent back 350, 400,000 people. Barack Obama, your guy, as you called Trump, but my guy, it was 5 million. It was 5 million over 8 years. Now we're at 350,000. What changed with Democrats on it? I know Biden let in 12 million. Is it about votes? Why do these people, why isn't is it a crime to be here? Not that they haven't committed a crime.
The border being as open as it was under Biden was one of the reasons Trump got elected. But the idea...
So you're glad it's closed now?
Do I think we ought to not have a fully open border? Absolutely. I've said that all along.
So with the 12 million that came in, what do we do?
The question I have for you is closing the border versus sending out ICE agents across the country to randomly pick up people based on quotas that have committed no crime.
How did Obama deport 5 million?
Done at the border.
I think it was a lot of that was done at the border.
They were sent back.
And the truth is, I don't think the American people signed up for this, where you see people who are working. There ought to be a path towards legality. We've worked on that. We've screwed that up, immigration reform, for years.
Listen to these people. Yeah, we let in, 10 to 20 million illegals over the last 4 years, but now we got to get them citizenship. We can't deport these people. This is wrong. They're hardworking, illegal immigrants. We can't do that. What kind of logic is that? How does that abide by the Constitution or the rule of law? It doesn't. They're trying to game the system. They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Here's another clip of Chucky Schumer talking about the same thing and what their objective has always been. It's replacement theory, by the way, replacing American voters with illegals because their policies are so disastrous and it's so obvious when they talk and all the actions they take. They don't care about the American people. They're sick of you. They don't want you complaining about their policies hurting your life. They want you to shut up and move over. And if you're not going to keep supporting their disastrous policies, if you're going to wake up and abandon the Democrat Party, well, they can't abide that because they demand your obedience. They don't want to earn your vote. They just think you have to give them their vote. And that people are stupid enough to go with this, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Mussolini forever, and they're going to keep winning elections. They're going to assassinate Charlie Kirk and think nobody's going to pay attention and say there's something wrong with the left in this country. No, those people, that's fine. How are they going to address this? Are they going to change their policies to help the American people so that they earn your vote? No, they're just going to import illegals and try and get them amnesty and citizenship as fast as they can so they don't need you anymore.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Unbelievable. Our objective is to get citizenship to 11 million or however many people. And they're talking about the dreamers, and the dreamers was never the point. These children of immigrants who came here, and it wasn't their fault. Now they want it for all these people. And by the way, if you're a leftist and Democrat out there, and you're out there fighting ICE like they're the enemy, not only are you wrong, but you're actually defending the worst criminals that have come into this country illegal. That's whose side you're on. Listen to this. So this Minnesota ICE operation, we're just arresting, hardworking people. Well, the ICE that sent over 2,000 officers into Minneapolis in the last week alone, well, here's a list of some of the people they rounded up and arrested. Sridorn Pavan, a Laotian, as in Laos, the country, national convicted of strong-arm sodomy of a boy and strong-arm sodomy of a girl, as well as another aggravated sex offense, 9 counts of larceny, 4 counts of fraud, and a spate of other burglary, drug, and theft offenses. Here's another one they rounded up. Tao Vang, another criminal illegal alien from Laos, who has been convicted of sexual assault and sodomy of a girl under the age of 13 and procuring a child for prostitution. Chong Vu, also from Laos. Wow, boy, we got to open up more immigration from Laos. These sounds like great people coming here. We want more Laos people here. Lousy Laos, that's what these people are. Stay in Laos. Chong Vu with convictions for strong-arm rape of a 12-year-old girl, kidnapping a child with intent to sexually assault her. What is up with all these rapists coming in here? I'm told this doesn't exist. That these people aren't coming here illegally. This isn't the problem. They're all just wonderful people. Gabriel Figueroa Gama, a criminal illegal alien from Mexico who was previously removed from the U.S. in 2002 and later convicted of homicide, battery, assault, and amphetamine possession. Abdirashid Adash Elmi, a Somali national convicted of homicide. Abira Shid Mohammed Ahmed, a criminal illegal alien from Somalia, convicted of 2 counts of negligent manslaughter with a vehicle, 2 counts of DUI. Larceny, damage to property. Gilberto Salguero Landaverde, a Salvadoran national and illegal immigrant who has been convicted of homicide 3 times. Mariama Sia Kanu of Sierra Leone, who has been convicted of 2 counts of homicide, 4 DUIs, 3 counts of larceny and burglary. And Tai Lor, a criminal illegal alien from Laos. What a great country Laos is. I would never call that a whole country. This individual also convicted of 2 counts of homicide. These people are all in Minneapolis alone. We're only talking about Minneapolis. And you've got the Intifada Karens out there that are doing this. Imagine being a Democrat, a leftist, and watching those Intifada Karens banging their drums and screaming like the deranged lunatics that they obviously are, and saying, yeah, those are my people. Intifada Karen, that's right. I support them. They're right on this issue. Look how smart we are. Look how amazing the left is. Not deranged at all. But, just to finish up here, it's indisputable at this point. There's nothing more to say about the Renee Good situation except that she tried to run over and kill a ICE officer, that she was in the wrong. She should have been blocking traffic. She was a trained ICE agent. She had lost custody of 2 of her kids. She was not a good and decent, wonderful human being. It's still a tragedy she's dead. I'm not a leftist. I don't celebrate it. I wish she was alive, and she'd be alive if the left were encouraging their Intifada Karens to get out there and behave like lunatics. But here's Steve Kerr doubling down on the lie despite everything I just told you.
Well, I'm glad that the Timberwolves, recognized, her life and the tragic nature of her death. And it's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it. It's shameful that the government can come out and lie about what happened when there's video and witnesses who have all come out and disputed what the government is saying. So very demoralizing, devastating.
They just double down on their lies. Hands up, don't shoot. That's what Renee Good is now. They will never abandon the false narrative they've told themselves and one another. They are just looking for reasons to get out and enjoy their favorite hobbies of getting paid $17 an hour to burn cities to the ground. That's what this is about. Congratulations. All right, why do 3 billionaires, 4 major banks, and a legendary 72-year-old investor have in common? They're all making the same shocking prediction: gold is headed for $10,000 or more. Goldman Sachs says gold will surge 20%, JP Morgan says 25%, and one respected economist now believes the U.S. government could deliberately raise gold's official price to help pay off the national debt. And the world's wealthiest players are already making their move. Now you can see exactly what they're seeing for free. Our friends at American Alternative Assets just released a powerful new report, The Surprising Case for $10,000 Gold. It breaks down the hidden signals, the central bank gold buying spree, and how smart Americans are protecting their retirement with gold right now. Go to cloutgold.com to download it for free, or you can call 855-803-GOLD. That's cloutgold.com or 855-803-GOLD. Don't wait. The window is closing fast. So I want to get into Powell, speaking of gold, speaking of economic issues. If you don't know, the chairman of the Fed, Jerome Powell, is under fire right now. He's facing the heat. And, the question is, is this an example of, a left-wing tactic to intimidate, the political opposition or someone you don't like? Is that what Trump's up to, et cetera, et cetera? But I want to start with explaining Jerome Powell here. I mean, the root of the issue is that Donald Trump and him have been fighting actually since 2017, when Jerome Powell was first the chairman of the Federal Reserve under Trump during his first administration. And they were fighting even back then. And so they are certainly not on friendly terms. But the issue here is Fed Chairman Powell's handling, or frankly mishandling, of his role at the Fed. Now, this isn't a conversation yet about, whether we, should abolish the Fed or not. Right now, it's just an analysis of what the current situation is. So first off, Jerome Powell is one of the worst Fed chairmen in my lifetime. That's an indisputable fact. And I want to show you what I mean. This guy under the Biden autopin regime bought into the lie that inflation was transitory, that it was temporary back in 2021. Now, most everyone out there, even listening to this show, now you don't have the bona fides that Jerome Powell does. You're not the Fed chair. And yet I bet you knew that inflation under the Biden regime was not going to be transitory and temporary, a passing fad that we were just going to overcome all of a sudden, that it wasn't a big deal. But Jerome Powell somehow couldn't see it. He couldn't see it. As a matter of fact, listen to him in February 2021.
Inflation is a process that gets going over a period of years, and we don't think and we're committed to the idea that it will not become a persistent thing. It is ultimately the credibility of the Fed and our commitment to our price stability mandate that holds inflation where it is. We haven't changed that.
Wow. So why would we have any confidence in Jerome Powell after he botched that in such a big way? Honestly, if the guy had any self-respect whatsoever, he would have resigned long ago. And by the way, it's funny, Jerome's got this talking point out there now about how, he's not political and the Fed is so independent, and that's such baloney. He's totally political. One of the most political I've seen. So anyway, he was late to raise interest rates when we were facing what would become crushing inflation under the Biden regime. And now he's late to lower interest rates as inflation has shown that it has stabilized. And that's not the only thing Powell got wrong. Powell got the tariff situation wrong. Donald Trump's tariffs have not worsened inflation whatsoever. But that was Jerome Powell's theory in the early days of Trump just beginning to talk about his tariffs when he came into office. So he is 0 for 2 right now. And he's 0 for 3 if you consider that he still is dragging his feet to lower inflation so that you can maybe buy a home, to help the hardworking people in this country. So I'm going to play this video message and then I'll explain exactly what's going on. Jerome Powell is in trouble because he is alleged to have lied to Congress about the extensive renovations taking place at the Federal Reserve building. And we will use facts, and you can deduce for yourself if he should be in trouble or not. Here's his video message coming out playing the victim.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project.
Okay, so this guy is saying, he made every effort to keep Congress and everyone informed. And of course, the people that always talk about accountability like this never want to be held accountable themselves. Now, first and foremost, I'll just pull up this headline so you can see. I always bring the receipts, baby. The Millennial Minister of Truth. So here's a Reuters headline from 2025, June 25th of last year. Powell calls reports of lavish Fed building renovations inaccurate. So what exactly did Powell say? He said, I quote, "There are no new water features, there's no beehives, and there's no roof terrace gardens." Well, that's interesting because I have at my fingertips here to show you the plans for the renovation. Look at these water features. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 water features being added and renovated, etc. What else does he say? No garden terraces? Well, my, what's a vegetated roof? What's a vegetated roof assembly location? My goodness. Fed chairman told us there's no roof terrace gardens. Well, these sure look like roof terrace gardens to me. Are we getting into some semantics now? These aren't roof terrace gardens. These aren't roof terrace gardens. These are vegetated roof assembly locations. Oh, man. But I want to play this clip to remind you of Donald Trump humiliating Fed Chairman Powell when they took a visit to the renovated site a little while back. Watch this. This is just an incredible thing to watch. I just love Donald Trump. He walks into the room and there's no bigger alpha. Watch how small Jerome Powell looks here.
And we're just taking a look at what's happening. And it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons why I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses, wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
It just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not.
Oh man, Trump is one of a kind. It's incredible. So the cost has ballooned beyond what they told us it was going to be. It's now well over $3 billion. Now, I want to explain something about the Fed. I want to try and make this as simple as possible because you can get lost in the weeds understanding this. A lot of people don't realize how the Fed is funded. The Federal Reserve is technically self-funded. It's not given a budget that the American taxpayer funds, right? There's no appropriations committee from Congress that, designates money to the Fed. The way the Fed earns its money, if you will, is through treasury bonds that they purchase and the what they get from that. And then, of course, fees that they charge banks. And the way the Federal Reserve is supposed to operate is that money that comes in, it covers the salaries and their budget. And then anything left over, they're supposed to return to the Treasury to help pay down the debt. So what becomes outrageous about this is that while the Fed chairman has shown that he's totally incompetent, his incompetence being so late to raise interest rates in the heat of inflation pummeling this nation caused a crisis that affected you and me. He made it worse by delaying, by ignoring reality, possibly for political motivations to help the Biden regime out and further their talking points. Because had he raised the interest rates aggressively like he should have, like Volcker did under Reagan, we would have had cut off inflation earlier. But the Biden regime was telling us what? Oh, inflation's transitory. Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, was giving us that line. And so he bought that line. So he seems very political, in my opinion. And so while he's responsible for harming you and me and this country, he is blowing over $3 billion, going over and over and over the original budget to spruce up the Federal Reserve building to make it look like the Palace of Versailles. That's the problem the American people have. It exposes the disconnect between the bureaucracy and the American people they're supposed to serve. They're serving themselves. I don't care about your nice Palace of Versailles government building. This is the problem. People that work for government think that they're better than us, that they deserve better than what we have. It's our money that the government spends in a general sense. And they're not stewards of it. They waste it, as we've seen with Somali fraud and Minnesota and everything else. And that's the problem. And that should be a bipartisan issue. You know, deporting the 20 million illegals who are here is in the best interest of the very Karens protesting ICE. That's what's so remarkable about this. But they have Trump derangement syndrome, and so they have to oppose it. And they're fighting for criminals because they have Trump derangement syndrome. They're fighting to do more damage to themselves and their families and their country because they hate Trump so much. That's what's so crazy about it all. So I want to finish up with this. Let me just see if I had anything else I want to add there in my stuff. Oh, there you go. Fed's pal says high inflation temporary will wane. And this guy's still the Fed chair. This is what I'm talking about. I get it. This guy, he was nominated and he was confirmed the most recent time under Joe Biden to serve his, 4-year term or whatever it is as Fed chair. But why is there never accountability? Donald Trump's been exactly right to point these things out once again. This guy's 0 for 3. He's shown that he's making, these are big mistakes, folks. The inflation and the Fed rates. And somebody with the ability and power they're given that has these implications on the American people, they get things wrong 3 times and they still are in there and they're claiming to be victims. And if the accusation is that he misled Congress about the budget, well, I just told you what he said and I showed you the building plans. Can you imagine being a Democrat and defending Jerome Powell, who was wrong about inflation, called it transitory? But you've got people who are defending that. You've got ICE rounding up these criminals who've committed acts of sodomy and murder. And you've got Democrats who are defending the sodomists and murderers. It's unbelievable, the broken nature of people's brains in this country. All right, so I want to get to Iran and just finish up here. Donald Trump's got them squirming and squealing a little bit. They want to meet. Donald Trump on Air Force One, I believe, told some reporters, well, we may have to act before that. But I just wanted to give you an update of what's going on in Iran. Iranian authorities have slaughtered more than 500 people in their crackdown thus far, this nationwide anti-regime uprising. My prayers are with the Iranian people who have lived under the monstrosity of theocratic oppression in that regime for too long. Images are showing these body bags piling up in Tehran. At least 496 protesters have been killed in the 2 weeks of unrest. And 10,600 people have been arrested. And of course, the fate of those arrested in this uprising, if the Ayatollah is allowed back into the country and they are able to hold on to power, will be their swift execution. Iran has a unique history in the Middle East. It is unlike Afghanistan. It's unlike its neighbors, actually. When it was a free country and actually pro-Western and embraced the West before the revolution, it was a place of poets and authors and writers and great minds, a really tremendously beautiful country in the Middle East. And the Iranians are, begging us to intervene at this point. And I hope we do. Now, the difference will be, and I think we've seen it so far with an instance like Venezuela, these aren't 20-year wars. The so-called Venezuela war was over in 2 hours, and we lost 0 U.S. personnel. But it's in the best interest of the United States of America. It is actually America first to return Iran to what it used to be. Iran is the heart of extremism, truthfully, as it relates to modern affairs in the Middle East. I'm going to read a comment here. Sometimes you get retards that watch the show, and I really love it. Michael Bianchino. Wow, you've really lost it, he says. I suppose the environment, climate change, bushfires, species extinction, and feminism mean nothing to you anymore as you descend down the snollygoster's rabbit hole of the Jejun bloviating miserable. He's speaking some kind of retard speak there, so it's hard to actually translate it. Anyway, climate change done, by the way, Michael Bianchino. I guess you missed the memo. The hoax has been revealed, and I guess, like the Democrats with Michael Brown and Renee Good, you are glued to falsehoods, but that's okay. Too bad for you, bro. So, anyway, the regime as it exists today in Iran, I mean, it was born from a revolution in 1979. And this revolution was also against the United States of America. That is where Death to America was born. And this has been embedded in Iran's institutions, their policies. They're not just meant to oppress the people of Iran. It's the reason they are cozying up to the former dictator Maduro, because they want to take us down. And, the primary sponsor of proxy warfare across the region, I mean, they're funding, Hezbollah in Lebanon, they're funding Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Shiite militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, all terrorist organizations that also share their desire to bring death to America. And, the Iranian people are perfectly capable of, unlike other countries we've seen, I mean, they have in people's lifetimes today, they have seen prosperity, just like Venezuela. Those people lived through prosperity and then saw socialism take over, and they saw what it did to their country. And that's why the Venezuelans are cheering and celebrating the streets and so thankful for what Trump did, because he's given them an opportunity and a chance. And ultimately, though, this has to be left to the Iranian people. And, they've shown that they have the guts and the courage to do it, but, there are means that must be supplied to them to bring about that objective. But the world, without a doubt, would be better off with the Ayatollah vanquished and the theocracy toppled, so that Iran can once again reach its full potential of being a democracy of sorts again. But anyway, this is Drew Allen. Thank you for being with me today. God bless you all. Hang in there. It's just Monday, folks. Until next time.